Taeyang Kim stood in the center of the massive council chamber. Above him, holographic screens floated in the air, showing data and images from Earth's deep space sensors. Around him, in a circle that stretched hundreds of meters wide, sat representatives from 23 different alien civilizations. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of crystal that glowed with inner light. Some had scales like reptiles. They were all much older than humanity, and they all knew it. Taeyang had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now. In that time, he had learned one important thing about the Galactic Council. They did not respect humans. Earth had joined the Council only 15 years ago. These other species had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. To them, humans were children playing with toys they barely understood. But today, Taeyang had to make them listen. Lives depended on it. "Honored members," he began, his voice carried by translation devices to every species present. 6 months ago, Earth's deep space network detected unusual energy patterns in the Nebari sector. At first, our scientists thought it was a natural phenomenon, but Dr. Yuna Park, our lead researcher, compared these patterns to data we recovered from an ancient alien database. He gestured, and the holographic displays changed. They now showed what looked like a dark cloud moving through space. But when the image zoomed in, you could see it was not a cloud at all. It was made of trillions of tiny machines, each one smaller than a grain of sand. "This is what the ancient records call a void swarm," Taeyang continued. "It is a weapon from a war that happened long before any of our civilizations existed. These nanomachines eat anything artificial. Satellites, ships, space stations. They break everything down into raw materials and use those materials to make more of themselves." A few of the alien representatives shifted in their seats. Most did not move at all. "According to our calculations, the swarm will reach Council territory in 6 months. We recommend immediate evacuation of all satellites and stations in its path. We also recommend that all military fleets prepare defensive measures." Taeyang waited. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then the Krelvath ambassador rose. He was tall and covered in dark green scales. His eyes were golden and cold. "Ambassador Kim," the Krelvath said, his voice dripping with contempt. "Humanity has been in space for barely a century. You have been part of this council for only 15 years. And yet you come here, warning us of ancient weapons, telling us to evacuate our infrastructure?" The Krelvath laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "My people have maintained satellite networks for 12,000 years. We have never lost a single station to mysterious swarms. Perhaps humans see dangers everywhere because you are still afraid of the dark." Several other ambassadors made sounds of agreement. The Vrix matriarch, who looked like a massive praying mantis made of silver chitin, clicked her mandibles in what Taeyang had learned was laughter. "The human speaks of ancient databases," the matriarch said. "Databases they found on a single derelict ship. My people have studied the ancients for 4,000 years. If this void swarm truly existed, we would know about it." More agreements echoed through the chamber. Taeyang felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his face calm. He had expected this. He had hoped for better, but he had expected exactly this response. The Doral representative spoke next. The Doral were beings made of living crystal, and when they spoke, their voices sounded like music. "We find it curious," the Doral said, "that Earth's primitive sensors detected something that our advanced monitoring systems did not. Perhaps the humans are mistaken. Perhaps they are seeing shadows and calling them monsters." Taeyang looked around the chamber. Only one ambassador seemed concerned. The Talxir delegate, a being that looked almost human except for the soft blue glow of its skin, leaned forward as if to speak. But when the other ambassadors turned their attention that way, the Talxir remained silent. The head of the council, an ancient being called a Nexarch, raised one of its many tentacles. The chamber fell silent. "Ambassador Kim," the Nexarch said, its voice gentle but firm. Your warning has been logged in the official records. The Council appreciates Earth's enthusiasm. However, we do not see sufficient evidence to justify the massive resource expenditure you suggest. This session is adjourned. Just like that, it was over. The holograms disappeared. The ambassadors began to leave, many of them talking among themselves. Tai Yang heard several of them laughing. He stood alone in the center of the empty chamber for a moment. Then he touched the device on his wrist, activating a secure communication channel directly to Earth. "Command, this is Kim," he said quietly. "They refused to listen. The Council has dismissed our warning." There was a pause. Then a voice came back, tinny through the encrypted connection. "Understood, Ambassador. Initiating protocol safeguard. We are pulling back all Earth assets from the projected danger zones." Taeyang closed the connection. He looked up at the vast dome of the council chamber, at the stars visible through the transparent ceiling. Somewhere out there, the swarm was coming. And when it arrived, all of these proud ancient civilizations would learn a hard lesson. Sometimes the youngest voice in the room is the only one telling the truth. As he walked toward the exit, Taeyang found himself hoping he was wrong. He hoped the swarm was just a ghost story from dead civilizations. He hoped Earth's sensors had made a mistake, but in his heart, he knew better. The data was clear. The swarm was real, and in 6 months, maybe less, the galaxy would burn. He just hoped there would be enough time to save anyone when the Council finally realized their mistake. 6 months passed. Captain Yoon Choi sat in the command chair of the Earth survey vessel Resilience, watching the sensor displays with tired eyes. His ship had been stationed at the edge of the Nabari sector for 3 months now, monitoring the space where Taeyang Kim said the swarm would appear. Around him, the bridge crew worked quietly. Navigation Officer Ji-won Lee was checking star charts for the 100th time. Chief Engineer Minho Seo was running diagnostics on the shield systems. They had all been on high alert for so long that exhaustion had become normal. "Captain," Ji-won said suddenly, "I'm getting strange readings on long-range sensors." Hyun sat up straight. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures. Lots of them. Moving this way." Ji-won's fingers flew across her console. "Wait, this doesn't make sense. There are trillions of individual contacts." Minho looked up from his station. "Trillions? That's impossible. Nothing moves in groups that large." "Put it on screen," Hyun ordered. The main view screen changed. At first, it looked like empty space. Then the computer adjusted the image, enhancing what the sensors were seeing. A massive dark cloud was moving through the void between stars. It looked almost alive, like a living shadow reaching out with hungry fingers. "Oh no," Ji-won whispered. "It's real. The swarm is real." Hyun felt his blood turn cold. "How far away?" "At current speed, it will reach the Krelvath border stations in 4 hours." 4 hours. That was 3 weeks earlier than even Taeyang's worst predictions. The swarm was moving faster than Earth's scientists had calculated. "Send an emergency broadcast to all Council ships and stations," Hyun ordered. "Maximum priority. Tell them the void swarm has arrived and they need to evacuate immediately." As Ji-won sent the message, Minho pulled up tactical data on his screens. "Captain, I'm reading the swarm's composition. It matches the ancient records exactly. Each nanomachine is designed to identify artificial materials, break them down at the molecular level, and use those materials to replicate itself." "How do we fight something like that?" Ji-won asked. "We don't," Hyun said grimly. "We run, and we hope everyone else runs too." But the other species did not run. Not at first. The Krelvath sent battleships to investigate. The Resilience picked up their communications as they approached the swarm. "This is Krelvath Battle Group 7, a proud voice announced. "We see the anomaly. It does not look dangerous. We are moving to scan it." "Don't!" Hyun shouted into the comm. "Stay away from it. Evacuate your stations now." There was no response. The Krelvath ships moved closer to the dark cloud. The Resilience's sensors watched it happen. As soon as the first Krelvath ship touched the edge of the swarm, the nano-machines swarmed over it. In less than 30 seconds, the mighty battleship simply ceased to exist. It was broken down into atoms, consumed, gone. The other ships tried to run. They were too slow. The swarm caught them one by one, eating them like a predator eating prey. Then the swarm reached the Krelvath orbital stations. There were 12 of them, massive structures that had orbited their colony worlds for thousands of years. The Resilience watched helplessly as each station went dark. No explosions, no fires. The stations just disappeared as if they had never existed. The communications channels exploded with panic. Every species in the Council was suddenly screaming for help. The Vrix communication satellites were gone. The Doreal deep space arrays had vanished. Everywhere the swarm touched, artificial structures died. "Captain," Jiwan said urgently, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the Council. They're demanding to speak with any Earth ship in the area." "Put them through." The Nexarch's face appeared on the screen. The ancient being looked terrified, which Hyun had never seen before. "Earth vessel Resilience," the Nexarch said. We were wrong. The swarm is real. You tried to warn us. Please, we need your help. Does Earth have any defenses? Any weapons that can stop this?" Hyun wanted to feel satisfaction. Part of him wanted to say that the Council should have listened, but as he watched another station die on his sensors, all he felt was tired. "I'm just a ship captain," Hyun said. "I don't have that authority. You need to contact Earth directly." "We are trying," the Nexarch said. "But please, if you can do anything—" The transmission cut off as the Nexarch's own communication relay was consumed by the swarm. Minho checked his console. "Captain, I'm receiving new orders from Earth Command. We are to observe only. Do not engage. Do not offer assistance. Earth wants the Council to understand what their arrogance has cost." Hyun sat back in his chair. The orders made sense. The Council had treated Earth like ignorant children. Maybe they needed to learn this lesson. Maybe they needed to feel real fear before they would respect humanity. "Captain!" Jiwan's voice was sharp with alarm. "I'm detecting a civilian transport on long-range sensors, Talxir design. Their engines are damaged. They're trying to escape the swarm, but they're not going to make it." Hyun pulled up the data. The transport was carrying 3,000 Talxir refugees. Men, women, children. The Talaxir were the only species that had seemed sympathetic to Earth's warning at the Council meeting, and now they were going to die because they couldn't move fast enough. "How long until the swarm reaches them?" Hyun asked. 20 minutes, maybe less." Hyun looked at the orders on his screen. "Observe only. Do not engage." Earth wanted to teach the Council a lesson, but 3,000 innocent people were about to die. People who had done nothing wrong except belong to civilizations with arrogant leaders. He thought about why humans had reached for the stars in the first place. It wasn't for revenge. It wasn't to prove they were better than anyone else. It was because humans believed in helping others, because humans believed that intelligent beings should stand together against the dark. "Minho," Hyun said quietly, "divert all available power to shields. Make them as strong as possible." The engineer looked up in surprise. "Captain?" "Jiwan, plot an intercept course for that transport, maximum speed." "Sir," Jiwan said carefully, "Earth Command ordered us not to engage." Hyun smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "I know, but we didn't come to the stars to abandon innocent people. We came to be better than that. I'll take responsibility for disobeying orders." He touched his comm badge. "All hands, this is the captain. We're going to rescue that transport. It's going to be dangerous. The swarm will try to eat us along with them, but that's what humans do. We help, even when no one asks us to. even when it costs us something. Prepare for combat speed." The Resilience turned and accelerated toward the doomed transport, racing against the dark cloud that was spreading across the stars like death itself. Fleet Admiral Sang-Yun-Oh stood in the command center deep beneath Geneva, Switzerland. Around him, dozens of screens showed the disaster unfolding across Council space. Civilizations that had stood for thousands of years were crumbling in days. The void swarm was spreading like a disease, consuming everything artificial it touched. Next to him stood Dr. Una Park, the scientist who had first identified the swarm 6 months ago. She watched the screens with sad eyes. She had tried to warn them. They hadn't listened. Now billions of beings were suffering for that mistake. "Admiral," a communications officer called out. "Emergency transmission from the Council. Maximum priority. They're begging to speak with you." Sang-Yun nodded. "Put them through." The screen showed not one ambassador, but all of them. The proud Krelvath, the ancient Vrix, the crystalline Doral. Every species in the Council was there, and they all looked desperate. "Admiral O," the Nexarch said, "our civilizations are dying. The swarm is consuming everything we have built over thousands of years. We were wrong to ignore Earth's warning. We admit this. Please, we are begging you. Does humanity have any way to stop this?" Sang-Yun let the silence stretch for a moment, not because he wanted them to suffer, but because he needed them to understand how serious this was. "Dr. Park," he said, "explain to the Council what we have." Una stepped forward. "While you were ignoring our warnings, we were preparing. Humanity has a unique history with artificial intelligence and nanotechnology. We spent decades worried about gray goo scenarios. We created countless movies and books about machines that replicate out of control. We developed computer viruses and cyber weapons. We learned how to fight digital threats." She pulled up a hologram. It showed tiny machines, similar to the swarm, but different. "We call them cleansers," Una continued. "They are nanobots designed to identify hostile nanomachines, dismantle them, and then self-destruct. They work like white blood cells in a human body. They find the infection and kill it." "These cleansers," the Doral asked, "they can stop the swarm?" "Yes," Una said simply. "We believe they can." The Council members looked at each other. Hope appeared on their alien faces for the first time in days. "Then please," the Vrix matriarch said, all her earlier pride gone. "We will pay any price. Name your terms." Sang-Yun had been waiting for this moment. Part of him felt guilty for what he was about to do. But another part of him remembered every insult, every dismissal, every time the Council had treated humans as inferior. "These are Earth's terms," he said clearly. "First, complete technology exchange. You share everything you know. No more keeping advanced knowledge from us because you think we're too primitive. Second, Earth gets equal voting power in the Council. We are not junior members anymore. Third, 3 permanent Earth seats on the Security Directorate. And fourth, we get full access to the ancient archives you've been keeping secret." The Krelvath ambassador looked angry. "You would hold our civilizations hostage? Let our people die if we don't agree?" Sang-Yun met his golden eyes without flinching. 6 months ago, Ambassador Kim stood in your council chamber and warned you. You laughed at him. You called humans primitive and afraid. Now your worlds are burning. So yes, these are the terms. You can accept them, or you can try to stop the swarm yourselves." The council members talked among themselves in their various languages. Sang-Hyun could see the anger on some faces, but he could also see the fear. They knew they had no choice. "We accept," the Nexarch said finally. "All of your terms. Just please help us." Sang-Hyun nodded. "Dr. Park, begin deployment of cleanser packages to all affected sectors, and get me Captain Choi. His ship is the closest to the main swarm concentration." Across the galaxy, Captain Hyun's resilience was locked in a desperate struggle. The ship had reached the Talxir transport and extended its shields to cover both vessels. But the swarm was all around them now, like sharks circling in dark water. The tiny nanomachines kept testing the shields, looking for a way through. "Shields at 60% and falling," Minho reported from his engineering station. "Captain, I don't know how much longer we can hold them." "We don't have to hold them much longer," Jiwan said, looking at her sensors. "The transport's engines are almost repaired. 2 more minutes." "We don't have 2 minutes," Minho said. "Shields are failing. They're adapting to our frequency." The swarm pressed closer. On the view screen, Hyun could see them now, a dark cloud so thick it blocked out the stars. They were learning. The ancient weapon was studying their shields and figuring out how to break through. "All power to shields," Hyun ordered. "Life support, weapons, everything. Give me every bit of energy we have." The lights dimmed. The bridge grew cold as life support shut down. But the shields held, barely. "Captain," the communications officer said. "Incoming transmission from Earth Fleet. They're here." The view screen shifted. Hyun felt relief flood through him as he saw dozens of Earth ships dropping out of FTL all around them. Cruisers, destroyers, and massive carriers, and they were all launching small pods that spread out through space. Admiral Sang-hyun's face appeared on the screen. "Captain Choi, I see you disobeyed orders to help civilians. We'll discuss that later. Right now, brace for cleanser deployment." The pods exploded, but not with fire or light. They released clouds of Earth's counter-nanomachines. The cleansers spread through space, millions and then billions of them. When they met the void swarm, the 2 clouds of tiny machines began to fight. It was like watching a war under a microscope. The swarm tried to consume the cleansers. The cleansers dismantled the swarm. Everywhere they met, both sides died, breaking down into harmless atoms. Slowly, carefully, the dark cloud around the Resilience began to thin. The Talxir transport's engines came back online. The refugees began to move away to safety. "It's working," Unipark said from Earth Command, watching the data stream in. "The cleansers are winning." But then her expression changed. "Wait, no. The swarm is adapting. It's changing its code. It's learning from our cleansers." Sang-hyun leaned forward. "How fast?" "Fast. Admiral, the ancient civilization that created this weapon made it able to evolve. Every time we deploy cleansers, the swarm learns a little more. If we don't finish this quickly, it will adapt past our defenses." Sang-hyun looked at the tactical display. The swarm was massive, spread across 12 star systems. They needed a better plan, something decisive. "Get me our best cyber warfare specialist," he said, "and plot me a course to the swarm's densest concentration. If this thing can learn, then we need to teach it a lesson it won't survive." Lieutenant Dongwoo Bei sat in the small cyber warfare pod attached to Admiral Sang-hyun's flagship. Around him were screens showing millions of lines of code scrolling past faster than human eyes could follow. But Dongwoo wasn't using his eyes. His neural interface connected directly to the computer systems, letting him think at digital speeds. He was fighting a war that most people couldn't even see. Every second, the Void Swarm tried billions of different code variations, searching for weaknesses in Earth's cleanser nanobots. Every second, Dongwoo wrote new defensive code, trying to stay one step ahead. It was like playing chess against a million opponents at once, except if he lost, civilizations died. "How are you holding up?" Jiwan's voice came through his headset. She had been transferred to the flagship to serve as tactical coordinator. "Tired," Dongwoo admitted. "The swarm learns fast. Every time I block one attack pattern, it develops 3 new ones. I'm writing countercode as fast as I can. But I don't know how long I can keep ahead of it." "You have to," Jiwan said. "You're the best we have." Dongwoo wanted to laugh, but he was too exhausted. He had been at this for 6 hours straight. His brain felt like it was burning, but he couldn't stop, wouldn't stop. On the other side of the battle, engineer Yoonji Han worked on a different front. Her team had been deployed to the Vrix homeworld, where 40% of the orbital infrastructure had already been consumed. Massive cleanser nets hung in space around the planet, holding back the swarm like sandbags holding back a flood. "Status report," Yunji said into her comm, coordinating with her 12-person team spread across different orbital platforms. "Net 7 is holding," one engineer reported, "but the swarm is testing it. They're looking for gaps." "Net 4 has a breach," another voice said urgently. "We need reinforcements here now." Yunji pulled up the tactical display. Net 4 was protecting a cluster of civilian stations where 2 million Vrix were sheltering. If that net failed, they would all die. "Reroute power from Nets 2 and 3, she ordered. "Shore up 4's weaknesses and deploy backup cleansers. We're not losing that position." She worked with calm efficiency, but inside, Yunji was terrified. Every decision could mean life or death for millions. One mistake, and the swarm would break through. Above the Vrix homeworld, a Vrix military commander watched the human engineers work. His name was unpronounceable to human tongues, but he had learned to respect these strange beings from Earth. They had come to save his people, even though his people had mocked them. "How can we help?" he asked Yunji through the translation software. "Follow my coordinates exactly," Yunji said. "No improvising, no pride. Just do what I tell you, when I tell you. Can you do that?" The Vrix commander would have been insulted by such directness just days ago. Now he simply said, "Yes, we will follow your orders." Together, humans and Vrix held the line. The cleanser nets flickered and strained, but they held. Slowly, the dark cloud around the planet began to thin. Meanwhile, Captain Hyun's resilience had joined the main battle fleet under Admiral Sang-Hyun's command. They were executing a dangerous plan. The swarm had concentrated most of its mass in a single location, like a beating heart pumping nanomachines throughout Council space. If they could destroy that concentration, they might cripple the entire swarm. The plan was to drive the swarm toward a nearby stellar nursery. The radiation from young stars forming might destabilize the nanomachines long enough for the cleansers to finish them off. "All ships!" Admiral Sang-Hyun's voice echoed across the fleet channels. "Begin the push! Stay in formation! Anyone who breaks formation dies!" 50 Earth ships and twice as many Council vessels moved together. They released waves of cleansers ahead of them, creating a wall that pushed the swarm backward. It was like herding a living thing. The swarm tried to flow around them, but more ships cut off each escape route. "It's working," Hyun said, watching his tactical display. "The swarm is moving toward the stellar nursery." But Ji-won's voice cut through the fleet channel, urgent and afraid. "All ships, this is tactical. The swarm is adapting faster than predicted. It's learning to resist the cleansers. In approximately 30 minutes, our nanobots will stop working." Silence fell across the command channels. 30 minutes. They needed at least an hour to drive the swarm into the radiation field. Dongwu heard the report and felt his heart sink. He had been fighting for hours, writing code as fast as his brain could work. But it wasn't enough. The ancient weapon was too smart, too adaptable. They were going to lose, unless someone did something drastic. He pulled up data on the swarm's core concentration. It was incredibly dense there, billions of nanomachines packed together, coordinating their evolution. If someone could get a massive cleanser bomb into the center of that concentration and detonate it, the resulting cascade might destroy the whole swarm before it could adapt. But the radiation from such a detonation would be lethal. The explosion would need to be triggered manually from inside the swarm. No drone could survive long enough. It would have to be a person. Dongwu looked at the numbers one more time. He ran the calculations 3 times to be sure. Then he opened a private channel to Admiral Sang-Hyun. "Admiral, I have a solution, but you're not going to like it." When he explained the plan, Sang-Hyun was silent for a long moment. "No," the Admiral said finally. I won't order anyone on a suicide mission. You're not ordering me, sir, Dongwu said calmly. I'm volunteering. Lieutenant, someone has to do it. And I'm the best choice. I know the swarm's code better than anyone. I can make sure the bomb deploys correctly. I can adapt it in real time if the swarm tries to interfere. There has to be another way. If there was, I would take it. But there isn't, and we're running out of time. Sang Yun's face appeared on Dongwu's screen. The Admiral looked old and tired. I won't forget this, he said quietly. I know, Dongwu said. Tell my family I was doing my job. Tell them it mattered. He cut the channel before the Admiral could respond. If he listened to more arguments, he might lose his nerve. He pulled up the data on the nearest shuttle bay and began preparing for launch. Jiwan found him before he left. She ran into the shuttle bay, her face pale. Don't do this, she said. Let me go instead. I can pilot better than you. I can get deeper into the swarm. Dongwu shook his head. You navigate people home, Jiwan. That's your gift. Mine is navigating code. This is my path. I can't lose you, she said, and her voice broke. He hugged her one last time. Tell Earth we made them listen, he said. Tell them we proved humans belong among the stars. Then he climbed into the shuttle. The bomb was already loaded, a cylinder of compressed cleansers that would expand into a wave of destruction when triggered. Enough to kill the swarm's core. Enough to kill him, too. The shuttle launched. Dongwu flew it straight toward the dark heart of the swarm. The nanomachines swarmed around his vessel, trying to tear it apart. But he had routed all power to shields. They would hold. Just long enough. He penetrated deeper into the swarm than any human had gone. The darkness outside was complete. He could feel the shuttle's hull beginning to fail as individual nanomachines found ways through the shields. Resilience, this is Lieutenant Bay, he said into the comm. I'm at the core, deploying payload now. He triggered the bomb. Then, in the 3 seconds before it detonated, he opened a channel to the entire fleet. We came to the stars as the young ones, Dongwu said, his voice calm and clear. We came wanting to learn. But today we taught the old ones a lesson. We taught them that wisdom isn't about age. It's about listening. It's about humility. And it's about standing together. The bomb exploded. Light filled the darkness as trillions of cleansers erupted outward in an expanding sphere. The cascade effect was immediate and devastating. The swarm's core disintegrated. Without the coordinating center, the rest of the swarm fell apart, unable to adapt fast enough to survive. The ancient weapon died, and so did Dongwu Bei, a 28-year-old cyber warfare specialist from Seoul, Earth, the youngest person in the galaxy to save it. 1 year after the Void War, the Galactic Council chambers looked different. The building was the same, but everything inside had changed. Where once there had been tiers of seating showing which species were most important, now there was a circle. Every representative sat at the same level. Every voice had equal weight. Ambassador Hana Sung stood at the central platform. She was young for an ambassador, only 32 years old. But Earth had decided that youth was no longer something to apologize for. The galaxy had learned that age didn't always mean wisdom. Around her sat representatives from all the council species, but 3 of the seats at the main table belonged to Earth now. Permanent seats, equal seats. The terms Admiral Sang Yun had demanded were now law. Hana looked out at the gathered ambassadors. The Krelvath were there, fewer than before. The swarm had destroyed 1/3 of their civilization. The Vrix matriarch had survived, but her proud bearing was gone, replaced by something that looked like respect. The Doral representative glowed with a different color now, one that Hana had learned meant thoughtfulness rather than certainty. Members of the council, Hana began. 1 year ago, This chamber was filled with voices that spoke over each other, old civilizations dismissing young ones, powerful species ignoring weak ones, pride drowning out reason. She gestured, and holographic images appeared. They showed the devastation. 12 civilizations crippled, millions dead, thousands of years of infrastructure reduced to atoms. The Void Swarm destroyed so much, Hana continued, but we need to remember how it happened. An ancient weapon came back to life, yes. But the real disaster was that we saw it coming and did nothing. Ambassador Taeyang Kim stood in this very chamber and warned you. He begged you to prepare, and you laughed. The chamber was silent. No one tried to argue or defend themselves. They all remembered. I'm not saying this to make you feel guilty, Hana said. I'm saying it because we cannot let it happen again. Every voice in this council matters now. When the Tal'Ksir speak, we listen. When the humans speak, we listen. When the smallest colony warns of danger, we investigate. She paused, and her voice grew softer. The war cost us so much. But we gained something too. We learned that no civilization is too advanced to be wrong. No species is too old to learn. And no warning is too small to matter. The Krelvath ambassador rose. He moved slowly, his scales duller than they used to be. The war had aged him. Ambassador Sung, he said, my people wish to formally apologize for our treatment of Earth. We called you primitive. We dismissed your warnings. Our pride killed millions of our own people. This shame will live with us forever. Hana nodded, accepting the apology. It must have cost him dearly to say those words. The Krelvath did not apologize easily. The Vrix matriarch spoke next. Earth asked for technology exchange as part of the treaty. We have begun sharing our knowledge, but we discovered something interesting. In many areas, human technology is superior to ours. Your computer systems, your cyber defenses, your adaptive thinking. These things saved us all. She gestured, and an image appeared. It showed a small moon covered in beautiful gardens. The Vrix offer this gift to Earth, a biological preserve containing plants from across our empire. We hope it will show our gratitude. Other species offered their own gifts and apologies. The Doral shared their historical archives, records going back 20,000 years. The Tal'Ksir offered research partnerships. Even species that hadn't been threatened by the swarm offered gestures of respect. But Hana didn't smile or celebrate. Instead, she brought up a new image. It showed Dongwu Bei's face, young, smiling, alive. This is Lieutenant Dongwu Bei, she said. He was 28 years old when he died saving all of you. He flew into the heart of the swarm and detonated a bomb that killed the ancient weapon. He knew he wouldn't survive. He did it anyway. She let that sink in for a moment. Dongwu wasn't the only one who died. 243 humans gave their lives in the Void War. Engineer Yunji Han died when a cleanser net failed around the Vrix homeworld. She stayed at her post to evacuate civilians instead of saving herself. Captain Hyun Choi survived, but 30 of his crew didn't. The hologram changed, showing faces. Human faces. Some young, some old. All dead. And that's just Earth, Hana continued. Thousands of Krelvath died, millions of Vrix. The Doral lost entire colony ships. The war cost us all. Her voice grew stronger. We didn't save you to prove we were right. We saved you because that's what decent beings do. But I need you all to understand something. This cannot happen again. The next time a young species brings a warning, you listen. The next time someone without ancient wisdom sees danger, you investigate. Because arrogance and pride nearly destroyed this entire sector. She looked at each council member in turn. Humanity came to the stars expecting to learn from those older and wiser. Instead, we had to teach a harder lesson. Experience means nothing without humility. Technology means nothing without wisdom. And age means nothing without the willingness to listen to those younger than you. When the council session ended, Hana returned to her quarters. She found a message waiting from Earth. It was from Taeyang Kim, the ambassador who had tried to warn the council a year ago. "Hana," his message said, "you did well today. But remember, we're part of the system now. We have power, we have respect. Don't let Earth become what the old council was. Stay humble, stay listening. That's how we survived." Hana smiled. Taeyang understood. Power was dangerous. It made you stop listening, made you think you were always right. She looked out her window at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, a small blue world that had changed the galaxy. Not through conquest or superior technology, but through stubborn determination to help others, even when it cost them everything. On Earth itself, in a cemetery outside Seoul, Taeyang Kim stood before a memorial wall. The wall was black stone, polished smooth. On it were carved the names of everyone who died in the Void War. He found Dongwoo's name near the middle. Dr. Yuna Park stood beside him. She had aged in the past year. The war had been hard on her. She felt responsible for every death, even though she had done everything right. "Did we win?" Yuna asked quietly. Taeyang thought about it. "We survived. We're respected now. The council will never dismiss us again. We changed everything. But I wonder what we lost in the process. We're not outsiders anymore. We're part of the power structure. I hope we remember what it felt like to be ignored, so we never do it to others." Yuna nodded. They stood in silence, watching the sun set. The light painted the memorial in shades of gold and red, making the names seem to glow. "Dongwoo told me once that he wanted to be remembered," Yuna said. "He was afraid his work was invisible, that no one would know what cyber specialists did." "Everyone knows now," Taeyang said. "The whole galaxy knows. He's a hero." "He would have been embarrassed by that," Yuna said with a sad smile. "He just wanted to do his job well." They stayed until full dark, honoring the dead. Around them, other people came and went, leaving flowers and small remembrances. So many families had lost someone. So many lives had been cut short. But as Taeyang walked back to his transport, he felt something besides sadness. He felt pride. Humanity had faced an ancient evil and won, not through violence or superior weapons, but through preparation, sacrifice, and the willingness to help others even when it cost everything. The Council had ignored Earth's warning. Their satellites were turned to dust. Their pride had nearly killed them all. But in the ashes of that disaster, something new had grown. A galaxy where every voice mattered, where youth was valued alongside age, where warnings were heeded, no matter who spoke them. Dongwoo and all the others hadn't died for revenge. They died to save civilizations that had mocked them. They died because humans believed intelligent beings should stand together against the dark. That belief had changed everything. And in the memorial's polished stone, reflecting the eternal stars, their names would shine forever. A reminder to every generation that followed, wisdom comes not from age, but from listening. Strength comes not from pride, but from humility. And sometimes the youngest voice in the room is the one that saves you all.